What's up, you guys? Thanks for coming to Ask the Pros. Today, we've got my good buddies, Dr. Chad Woolner, and the man, the myth, the legend, the tech genius, the wizard of all wizards,
Behind
Jacob,
the curtains, yes.
That's right, Jacob Morris. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Doing good, man. So today, we're in Ask the Pros. We're talking about something that I get asked all the time. It's extremely misunderstood, but I tell you what, there's a lot of sizzle around that today. So
Yes.
We're talking about geofencing, okay? And if there's anybody that can talk about geofencing, it's this guy.
For sure.
So do me a quick favor. Give me a broad concept. What is geofencing, and what's the buzz about it right now?
Yeah, so I mean, geofencing is basically where you enter an area that either your competitor or you yourself who are doing advertising, you kind of mark this area. If anybody walks in here, you tag them, right? And then from there, the concept is you can then serve ads to them wherever they go outside of that area, encouraging them to come back to your shop or yada, 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 right? This actually really got popular because Google put out these things called beacons. And when you sign up for a Google My Business account, brand new Google My Business account, they'll actually mail you these beacons. And it's supposed to be, hey, if you get within 150, 200 feet of your store, everybody's phones is going to get a little push notification saying, hey, come in, we're having a sale or whatnot. And so when they pushed out all these beacons, everybody started saying, oh, what's this geofencing magic that everyone's talking about? And jumped in there like, oh, this is going to be the best way to get all these kind of new patients, get personal injury and all this, that,
Any
and the
business,
other.
right?
Yeah. And
Local businesses were going crazy for this thing.
oh, totally going crazy over it, not understanding how it actually works and how the user experience is at the other end of it.
Well, and rightly so. I mean, you can see why people are so interested. And I mean, there's like this craze. I cannot tell you. In fact, it was funny. I had a guy come to me after he went to a Grant Cardone presentation. He said, hey man, we got to do some geofencing. And we're going to get into like our take on it, like how it works and method of operations and things like that. But there's a ton of buzz. Have you heard much about geofencing?
Yeah, well, I first learned about it when it was first in its inception, right? And so I think for me, I was kind of in that camp where I maybe misunderstood or maybe assumed too much from it, that it was going to be this magical thing that was going to allow, because from a marketer standpoint, everything marketers want is the exact opposite of what consumers want in terms of privacy. Yeah. Everybody who's freaking out about what, Facebook's, if you ever saw that documentary about Cambridge Analytica.
Yeah.
I'm like,
is it called Big Data?
Yeah, where I basically just come away from the show thinking,
awesome.
Yeah, so what? Yeah, like this data is useful, and again, I think that the problem or the challenge maybe is the fact that I know that my approach towards marketing, as with your guys, is always beyond reproach. It's very ethical. We don't do anything, we don't use that data inappropriately, whereas obviously that getting into the wrong hands can be the case. And obviously that's not the point and intent of today's episode. I wasn't going to take us down those rabbit holes, but to answer the original question, am I familiar with it? Yeah, I'm familiar with it from the standpoint of when I originally saw it. I saw immense opportunity from that standpoint, but I think Jacob's going to kind of fill us in on like, whoa, put the brakes on, hold on, because as exciting and as sexy as you think that probably is, there are some constraints of reality that need to be taken into consideration. Because I think like most people, when they first hear that, they think that it's this magic bullet, as with a lot of new marketing.
A lot of the tech capabilities are sold as a silver bullet. And a lot of times that's not. They're more of a support to an overall strategy, and they're not really. They don't have the cachet, the sizzle that they really have. So before we go any further, we're going to share some personal experiences that you and I spent quite a bit of money testing this.
Yep.
Before we do anything else, I want to establish the difference between two terms. Okay, geofencing. Yep. Geo-targeting.
Okay, yeah, there's a big difference between the two.
Okay, because people use them synonymously. So what are they? How do they differ?
Yeah, so we'll just start with what we're talking about, geofencing. So geofencing is where you can actually get into a very micro level of targeting. So that's where you can literally draw a square around a building and say if anybody walks in that square, tag them. Right. That's geofencing.
And the implications for that, I mean, the place that your mind automatically goes is like, well, hey, we could geofence an attorney's office, right?
Yep.
A personal injury attorney, and boom, anytime somebody walks through that fence, here we go.
They're tagged. Yep. Yeah. So that's that side of it. Then geo-targeting is what you see when you go onto your Facebook ads, you go on Google ads, and you're building out your advertising, and it says, hey, put an address in. Okay, give me a radius. Do you want a 1 mile, 2 mile, 5 mile, 20? That's geo-targeting. That's basically saying, okay, I'm going to take this radius of people and everybody in this radius that also meets my criteria, either search or through interest-based targeting on Facebook, show my ads to them. You know, that's geo-targeting.
The way that I'm hearing that is it almost sounds like the geofencing is technically speaking more of a behavioral-based tagging tool, meaning with geo-targeting, what we're talking about is we're assuming we're targeting a radius that's where people live or reside or hang out or work or wherever. Whereas with the tagging or geofencing, I keep saying tagging, but same idea is that you're really tagging a behavior, meaning if somebody takes this action, i.e. they walk through this door, it's no different than retargeting from a website, right? If they visit said website, you can retarget them. If they visit this location, we can retarget them.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
So is that a good way of looking at it?
That's exactly right.
So at this point, like when people figure out this information, right, they're excited about it. So I guess the first thing is geofencing real?
Oh, definitely real. So, and this is the thing, geofencing was developed not for the little guys initially. It was developed for your Walmarts, for your big box stores. And basically what it was is when a customer walks into your big box store, you can then say, hey, we've got a sale over here in sporting goods. We've got a sale over here in milk or whatever. And you can have these ads show up because we know you're on your phone researching. So then we can have these ads show up while you're in the store and then get you to go to other parts of the store. That's why geofencing was initially developed. It was for the big box retailers. So it absolutely works. They use it all the time. That's why you'll see if you ever are on your phone in there and you're on a website and all of a sudden you're getting a Walmart ad, it's because they tagged you. They were able to geofence you, right? So it definitely works, but not the way that medical professionals are expecting it to work. And it's because what the big guys have that you don't have is they have a Walmart app. They have a Target app. They have all those things that are collecting your information and sending it directly to them, right? And that's why it's able to work. Now, these other things that have popped up, that's where we start getting into the murky water of why geofencing for most people is not the direction you want to go.
Right. So I kind of want to segue. Hopefully we've given anybody watching this a good enough foundational understanding of what the two are, okay, technically. Now, I do want to pivot. So, I mean, like any person that wants to get better at anything they're doing, when I heard about this and you and I heard about this, it was like, we got to test this.
Yep.
Right? So I kind of want to walk through that experience because I think we spent a lot of money doing it. That money is money we lost.
Yep.
And we don't, you guys, if you're watching, you guys don't need to lose it. So I do want to kind of set up the hypothesis, like how we, our strategy, and then the results and why, and we'll get down to like our reasoning, our takeaways. I don't think we've killed the thing dead in the water, but right now we have some takeaways on it. So you and I, let's talk about the strategy. So walk me through when we tested this. This is the end of 2019. We tested this when?
2018. So it's just last year.
Yeah, just last year.
Yeah.
And we spent a substantial amount of money to the tune of $8,000 to $10,000, something like that.
Yep.
And what was our strategy? And then kind of walk us through how that all worked.
Yeah, so our primary goal is actually going after personal injury. Was when we were when building this geofencing. And so we basically said, okay, where are people that are going to get in a car accident? Where are they going to go? Well, they're going to go to body shops.
Yeah.
They're going to go to urgent cares. They're going to go to lawyers that specialize in personal injury.
Right.
So we picked these addresses and we said, okay, we want to draw a fence around anybody that goes into this address. And we actually set up the strategy too that if you're a repeat person, that we would actually exclude you from it, with being the concept of the employees are going to go there every day, right? So if you show up there every single day,
right,
we're going to exclude you. So we only want the people that came once a week, kind of a deal,
right?
And showing up. And so that was our strategy behind it. And then we were going to build ads and show them ads based off of that behavior that they were taking.
Yeah. And so the behaviors were happening. We were getting people to go into, and so we were building, would you call them an audience? I guess you would call them.
It's an audience. We were building up an audience.
Yeah, we were building up an audience. And really, so I think initially, like, there showed some sign of, hey, there's some traction here.
Yep.
The problem came when the delivery side of things, right? The actual delivery of the clicks.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So walk us through that.
Yeah. So, and this is when we did our test, it was just, you mentioned the Cambridge Analytica deal, right? So this is
before that. No, is it before or after?
It was just after the Cambridge Analytica
right.
debacle, right? So prior to Cambridge Analytica, the geofencing stuff was acted a little bit differently as far as targeting was concerned, because you used to be able to download a list of IDs, and then you can upload those IDs into Facebook, into Google, and all these other kind of stuff. Well, after Cambridge Analytica, both Facebook and Google said, no more of that, right? So now all these geofencing companies, they had to basically develop their own relationships with advertisers directly, or with publishers directly, in order to put their ads on their platforms. And of course, the easy one to go for is those free game apps that you download. That's who they partnered up with to be able to both collect data and then put advertising on. And so that's where the delivery problem really came into play. Was we weren't able to deliver on Facebook. We weren't able to deliver on Google because it was against their policies now.
Right.
So now what we had to do is basically put it on all those games where you get interrupted by that annoying ad. And now here we are interrupting you playing your game. And
Right.
Chad, you love that?
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no matter of the most amazing offer, the most amazing creative ever,
If you
it's going
can't
to get you
serve
to
it up.
click on that ad, right? You're
Yeah.
just annoyed and ticked off the whole time. So the delivery side of it was where it really fell apart.
And in fact, after we did it for several weeks, we started to get indication and proof that this could actually damage a brand.
Yep.
Right? So the negative brand equity that could come from the annoying campaigns, it's one thing to run, to like get your frequency out of control on a Facebook campaign.
Yeah.
Right? That's one thing. But it's another thing to do they even have frequency on those? Probably not.
Well, and I don't even think it's necessarily the frequency as much as it is. I think it's
You took me away from Candy Crush.
No, what I was even just going to say is I think as much as people love those games, I think there's an inherent understanding that most brands that advertise in those areas are like, it's just a sketchy place to run ads. I think most people think of it that way. It's like, it would be like the equivalent of people just know that like the bulk of who advertises during daytime television is like these attorneys firms that are like, did you get injured by your neighbor's lawnmower 10 years ago? We might be able to make you some money, So, just people know that, or like just different like sketchy, companies. And so it's just like, you don't want your brand associated as being the daytime television brand or the app advertising brand. Cause it's the same kind of, it's like bottom feeder, chum traffic. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So after spending $10,000, whatever it was around there, basically what we found was clicks were near impossible. And even when they were clicking, remember, we couldn't even pixel them.
Yeah. No, what was ended up happening was
because that was the thought. The thought was, okay, well, if we can't get their direct data, at least we can, if we get a click, we can pixel and then remarket.
Yeah. So what was happening was, again, because they're having to work with these publishers directly at this point to put your ads on. So the redirects that were happening were ridiculously
Very
slow.
long, right.
And so you had these really slow redirects that were taking you away from what you were actually doing. So what's your initial instinct is just to be hitting that X the whole time until it finally disappears. So the website was never able to fully load to actually capture any information because they were moving so quick.
Right. And if you're listening, you're wondering what a redirect is. When you click on that ad, it's going to take you to the destination, which website, funnel, whatever it is. If it takes 20 seconds, and that's not an exaggeration, if it takes 20 seconds to get there, nobody is going to sit around for an ad. And that's exactly what we found.
Yeah, exactly. And what most people don't realize too is there's actually, when you click an ad, there's multiple redirects that happen.
Right.
So you click that ad. So for instance, Facebook and Google, they've got their systems where it's, you don't even realize that there's a couple steps in between, because Facebook and Google are capturing that information so they can report it back to the advertiser. Hey, we got a click. Right. So when you click an ad, you're actually going to a middle website before you actually go to the actual destination. And that's where we were dying, was in that middle step. It wasn't flipping to us fast enough before they were hitting that X and getting out of there.
Right. So hopefully, let's do our takeaways. Okay. When people ask me about this, it's a hard no for me. And here's why. I know that they're coming from a point of view where they have this hope, this anticipation, this dream of, hey, this could change imagine if we could just get a constant flow of PI, that would be incredible. So understanding that is an expectation and not to crush too many dreams out there, it's just not reality.
No.
Right?
No, it's primarily because, one, we had the Cambridge Analytica, so where you wanted your users to be, which is Facebook and Google, you can't get into anymore. So now you have to work with these third-party, dealers, basically. And then on the other side of it, the technology wasn't built for small guys. The technology was built for your medium and large businesses, your box retailers, and things like that, to attract people to go back to their stores. Right. I mean, going back to the reason why Google put out beacons in the first place, where it would put out a push notification, it's because I'm sure everybody's got a place nearby where they've got a whole collection of stores, right? Either a mall or some sort of, we've got it at the Village out here. You put the beacon out there, and so somebody's walking by, you can get a push notification to get them to come in. I mean, that was the concept behind it. Yeah. To get PI campaigns going through it, it's not how the software and the concept behind it was developed for.
Right. Well, anything you want to add to that there, Dr. Wollner?
I'm sure we'll talk about this moving forward and later on, but the thing that I would simply say in all of this is it's eerily reminiscent to me of people that I've known, entrepreneurs, or better yet, wantrepreneurs that you and I know, and I'm sure you know as well, where the saying or the take home or the moral of the story is, if you would put as much energy into playing the long game as you do chasing after all these different magical home runs, you would have been there by now. So the obvious one that would come to mind that we talked about is personal injury, right? And again, I think if you guys can't crack that nut, no one can. No offense to anybody else out there, but I really don't think that's the case. You guys have tested it. You've shown that it's just that's a dead end road. And so the other option then is, why don't you make the commitment to the long haul of saying, for the next 12 months, I am just going to create nothing but incredible content, all revolving around how our clinic helps solve that problem better than anybody else. And then you geo-target your community with your content, and you really you show that you're willing. I mean, think about it in terms of like investing for retirement. Nobody expects an ROI next year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. And yet this is even better because it's not retirement. It's going to be a lot quicker than that. And so just understand, you don't need to see an ROI your first 30 days, your 60 days, 90 days. Just be willing to say, for the next year, I'm really just going to pay my dues and do that. And then, just go to work and do that.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Well, look to the link description. The description below, we'll put up a couple links. In fact, there will be a link to, if you're interested in personal injury, we're going to do a Ask the Pros episode on that one. So look to the description below. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.